Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. What do you guys prefer? Cartoons or anime? That's something I want to talk about today, so let's talk about it. A growing trend in geek and nerd culture is a huge shift from cartoons to anime. Is this surprising, or has this been, have you seen this coming for a long time? Let me know in the comments. Something I've noticed is that, anime has always been popular, not just because of the style itself, but for a whole different number of factors. And nowadays, as of 2025, there has been a huge shift in that fandom. People who used to watch cartoons or animation made by Western studios have now kind of drifted towards anime. And I would like to kind of just say why I think that is. And I think that's mostly because Western animation is lacking a lot. And what I mean to say is, there's a lot of things that aren't exactly well portrayed in Western animation as they are in anime. And also, it's doing a lot of things better than what Western animation is trying to do. A lot of the times I'm seeing Western animation, it's kind of, for better use of the term, limping to the barn. So I'm going to kind of tell you what I think might be the problem. And I'm doing that with a couple of bullet points. So first of all, I'm gonna jot down what I think is wrong with Western animation, and what I think and why I think anime is doing it better. For one thing, let's start out with Western animation or cartoons to make things a lot easier for me to say. For one thing, Western animation, it's divided into two very distinctive genres. For kids and for adults. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because to be honest, a lot of anime is somewhat the same thing, but with anime, there's also a middle ground. You have kids, young adults, adults. But when it comes to Western animation, that divide is very, very clear. And sadly, the animation meant for kids usually is just a very long and very elaborate toy commercial. Not saying that's a bad thing, I'm just saying sometimes it's way too obvious. Case in point, okay, I'm gonna have to go back to the classics like G.I. Joe and Transformers. Those were deliberately made just to sell toys. And sometimes those storylines were actually really good. And yes, anime is also a victim of that. But they were actually clever. They made the toys part of the story. They weren't just toys that were the story. Can you understand what I mean? I hope so. Well, they integrated the toys way more organically in the story than most Western cartoons. And here's something that's also kind of been bugging me a lot about Western animation stories. The plot lines are way too predictable. You'll automatically see who's gonna hook up with who and who's the chosen one. It's all the same. It's all too... Yeah, you can see these plot points a mile away. Whereas in anime, it's kind of unpredictable. Case in point, Goblin Slayer. In the very first episode, I thought I was going to follow the story of the group of young adventurers, when eventually only one of them survives. The rest get horribly mutilated and killed by the goblins. And the one who survives is the Goblin Slayer, which is actually quite clever. Anime, actually, not much like their source material, they know how to create expectation and destroy it in the same go. Also, a good example is the very first episode of One Piece, actually. I thought we were going to focus on the story of that one kid, Kobe, who wanted to join the Marines and help Luffy out in the first two episodes. Eventually, he leaves and joins the Marines, when we then focus on Luffy. That was a nice kind of twist in that sort of thing. And like I'm saying, when it comes to Western animation, you know who the main character is, and you kind of know what his arc is going to be. And it's kind of the downside about a lot of these, about when you cater your story to kids, that you kind of need it to be simple because you don't have that much faith in the intelligence of your audience. But when it comes to the older audience, then that's where you get me. Because a lot of animation, when it's meant for older audiences, It's usually a very mediocre and drab comedy, Simpsons, Family Guy, or it's a very mediocre action series, much like the crappy Netflix Tomb Raider thing. And that's very, very disappointing to me, because a lot of the times when I'm waiting for a really cool animated series, I want something with fantasy. I want something with action. Instead, I'm getting crappy slice of life stuff, or just the generic sitcom of a family going through some very stupid change. That's happened before. The fact that it's animated doesn't mean it's better or anything like that. It just means you can do special effects on a cheaper and less lethal basis. Family Guy does it a lot, and yeah, you just need to look at that. You'll know what I mean when you watch it. And here's also something that pisses me off about Western animation. It tries to appeal to all demographics. They don't know who their audience is. They just think, okay, if everybody likes this, we'll make more money or whatever. That's not how you should make a story. That's not how you should make a series. You need to know who your audience is and then target them. That's how you lose so many hardcore fans of animation. And that's something that anime does really well. They know who their target audience is, and they know who they should cater the story to. Case in point, One Piece. The creator of One Piece, forgot his name. I'll put it up. My editor will pull it up. He said that his manga is deliberately meant for teenage boys. And you can see it in the writing. And another good example is Goblin Slayer. But I can tell that it was meant for fans of fantasy RPGs, because it has the typical Adventurers Guild and all these different classes. What also is really clever is that they don't use real names for the characters. You identify them by their class. You have the Cleric Girl, you have the High Elf Archer, you have the Dwarf Shaman, and you have the Goblin Slayer. He did that for a very good reason, so that the reader or the viewer can identify better with those characters. If they had a name, then they're their own character. If they were just their class, then you can identify them with them more. Just like how Master Chief in Halo, you never see his face, so the player can feel like, okay, he is the Master Chief. Then Paramount fucked it up with their stupid series, which had him take off the helmet and get hot and heavy with some really weird chick who was adopted by aliens. Something that Western animation is a huge victim of is executive meddling. A lot of the times, the producers and the higher-ups, they'll get their grubby little fingers on the storyline and the budget of these series and fidget around with it, because they think if they do this and this, they'll attract a bigger audience and therefore get more money. That is a terrible thing to do. And okay, devil's advocate, I understand it on the executive and the producer side, because it's their money. If it flops, they've lost a huge ton of their own revenue, and they're never going to see it again. However, you've given these people a license to do what they need to do what they want, and let's be honest, executives and producers and these bigwigs, they have no idea what the hell they're doing when it comes to entertainment. You know how to make money, you don't know how to make a story. Let's be clear. And also something which is really annoying about a lot of Western animation, they try to incorporate too much of modern day stuff into their storylines, like social media trends, current day politics. It's so mundane. We watch the animation shows just so we can just ignore all that bad crap and just enjoy ourselves. Okay, granted, a lot of Western animated stories are about kids going through school, going through big-ass changes in their modern-day lives. I don't care. A lot of people don't care. If it's done cleverly, if it's done with a bit of a fancy twist to it, maybe it'd be okay. Mostly it's not. That's why when it comes to anime, their settings are so over the top, you can't ignore it. And I'm going to reference One Piece again, because One Piece has a crazy setting. You have islands where there are people who are giants, islands where up in the fucking sky. You even have Fishman Island, which is an island under the sea full of fish people. And they're so clever when it comes to their design and just world building itself. It's so cool. And something that a lot of Western animation is kind of lacking is fan service. Okay, granted, their target audience is usually kids. Sometimes you can afford to be a bit raunchy, a bit risque. That's why anime is such a breath of fresh air, because they know what the fans want, that they go full out. Okay, yeah, there are anime which are catered specifically for that kind of fan service, and that's usually 18 plus. So I'm not mentioning those. But they know that, okay, they can have fun with it, they can be a bit raunchy, and they can kind of tease your audience. It's just, it's just fun. And that's something that a lot of Western animation is lacking. It's just overall fun. Also, something which is really cool about anime, which I respect with all my heart, is that they take their source material to heart. They don't fiddle too much with it. They don't try and tweak it for modern audiences. They know, okay, this was the original manga artist's vision. How is the best way we can do that? And how are we going to stay loyal to it? So that's something that a lot of Western audiences, a lot of Western animation should learn from, because I tried watching the newest version of the newest cartoon of Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. My God, nobody wants to see a Gen Z Spider-Man. Nobody wants to go through all that of him being a social media influencer or something like that. It was so dumb. I think at least it was dumb. And also, let's not get started about the animation style. That's something very important to me. And that's where I'm going to kind of rant on about. Western animation relies too much on 3D animation. There are way too many shows coming out now which are completely CGI. I myself don't like CGI too much. I find it that it makes the characters look like either plastic figurines or clay dolls. It hits the eye wrong to me. And there's too many shows are being made like that. Sometimes it works well with the shows. Let's say Transformers, because most of the characters are robots, so that way, the hard surfaces work. I'm not a big fan of 3D animation. Sometimes it works only if the studios play with it. Case in point, Arcane. That was really, really well animated. And yes, based on a video game, so it had to have that sort of 3D look to it. But I mean, the way they textured the faces, the way they kind of, they played with the sort of choppy animation style, but they were expressive when it came to camera angle, movement. They knew that this was animation, and they knew that people would appreciate it more if there was such expression, not just in the faces, but also in the movement. That's something that anime does really well. Because it's 2D, the artists know they can pull off so many cool movements, so many cool expressions. It just speaks so much more. It's more artistic. It's so, like I'm saying again, expressive. It just jumps out at you. You just can't ignore. You can tell immediately what a character is feeling just by looking at their face, or just how outlandish a situation is by by how they react to something. So I'm really hoping that maybe in the future, a lot of Western studios are going to look at anime and feel inspired to see, okay, what can we take from those studios? How can we use it to our advantage? Okay, yeah, some studios are already doing that, like the studios that made Monkey Kid, as well as the studio that did the original Teen Titans. I'm not talking about Teen Titans Go, because that's just a Gumball ripoff. I'm talking about how you can learn from what anime has done. And okay, a bunch of you are going to say, hey, but what about The Last Airbender, Avatar? What about Critical Role? Yes, those technically are Western cartoons, but they were animated by a Korean studio, Studio Mer. Please look them up. So, in a way, it's a fusion project. So maybe in the future we'll see more fusion projects come up. I really hope so, so fingers crossed. But anyway, I'm going to leave it here. Tell me what you guys think. And also, give me a list of the best cartoons you think are really good, and some of the best anime you think are really good. And let's see which list is bigger. So I want to say thank you all and see you in the next video. Bye!